biggest challenge. This is Everest, 8,850 meters. What I actually want to do this morning is share with you the inside story about what rarely happens to a group of people when you put them under this kind of pressure in the face of this kind of objective. And this particular story comes from South Africa. A couple of years ago, they put together a group of likely-looking men to carry the new South African flag to the summit. And at the last minute, it appears to have occurred to somebody that this isn't entirely politically correct any longer. All male teams. You're supposed to have a token woman in there somewhere. So, how do you find a woman at the last minute to join your Everest expedition? You put an advertisement into the newspapers. Is where we finally begin to discover why so many teams fail. Afternoon of day 5. I've managed to get away from the stove. My team leader's cooking. He's made me a cup of coffee. Now, coffee is important. Coffee smells like home. And I take a sip, and it's disgusting. I mean, I'm sorry, but I take 2 sugars in coffee. When I'm halfway up Mount Everest, I take about 6 sugars in coffee. My team leader hasn't been more than 2 feet away from me for 5 days. You think he would have noticed? No? They go for the summit, and the following afternoon we hear that they are standing on top. They've done it. They're on top. And us? Well, we're in bed. This is not a good moment. We're in bed. Those other teams are already making their way down this knife-edge ridge, down this huge snow slope. They are going home. Except that as they descended, a storm blew in. A storm that has come to be called the worst in the history of Everest. By nightfall, we have gale-force wind, driving snow, wind chill temperatures at -40, and 21 climbers are missing. Their radios are frozen. Nobody knows where they are. He's phoned up to say, I am proud of you for trying again. I believe that you can do this. Now, if we just think about that for a minute, he may know how to run a country, but he knows nothing about mountain climbing. He doesn't know if we can do it. But the funny thing is that it doesn't matter. When you come from South Africa, he's the next best thing to God. When God calls you on the telephone and tells you that you can do it, of course you can. We are just so inspired. We are going to live up to this. Sometimes when we look for the holy grail of what motivates people, particularly what motivates them cheaply, it's easy to overlook recognition. We are almost there. The summit of Everest is just over there. To give you a sense of scale, this is one of our climbers, Pemba. Now, on the left-hand side, that's the quick way back to Camp 2. 2,500 vertical meters. The right-hand side is the quick way into Tibet, 3,500 vertical meters. And all we have to do to get to that summit is walk along a footpath of snow as wide as one boot. In South Africa, it's all over the media. As you do these days, we have a live satellite link from the summit. We're talking to a radio station in South Africa. The first thing they do is they put my mother on the line. So I've kind of got my mother's voice coming out of the radio. Darling, darling, where are you? This expedition was a fascinating learning curve. Most of it had nothing to do with mountain climbing. It's about people. Teams fail not because of blizzards and avalanches. They're destroyed by stress. they don't live up to their own ability, or they destroy their own success with complacent mistakes. And looking at the teams who succeed, we've all got ropes, we've all got oxygen. It's about the intangible tools. It's about a clarity of vision, meticulous logistics, a passion not just for the goal, but for everything involved in getting there. It's about the courage to make your own choices and not follow the crowd. It's about recognizing the talent in all your different team members. It's about being able to motivate with the right words at the right moment. And in the best of all possible worlds, that's where we'd end. After 18 hours, we give up, and we leave without him. And we don't know what happened. There is an epilogue to this. It was a year later before a team got back onto that knife-edge ridge, and they found him. With his oxygen, with his radio, we still don't know what happened. But I have come to realize that it's a little too easy to use Everest as a metaphor for conquering summits. We live in a goal-obsessed society. We are ambitious, driven people. But on Everest, we talk about summit fever. When people want the summit so very badly that they forget that it's not actually our number one objective. Our number one objective is coming home alive. And you can lose sight of that. And this, dramatic though it sounds, this doesn't only apply to mountain climbers. Any company who's ever pursued this quarter's profit margins at the expense of their long-term financial integrity is caught up in the same trap. I can promise you just one thing, that no matter how overwhelming these mountains seem when we stand at the bottom, there isn't a mountain on the face of this earth that is too high for us to climb. We've proved that. We're human beings. We have passion, vision, drive, intellect, logic, an incredible array of mental talents. And crucially, we have the ability to cooperate, to band together to maximize those talents, to try and minimize our weaknesses. We don't always like cooperating, and we don't always do it well. But when we do, we can produce extraordinary results. What we need is to understand what it really takes to put together effective teams, then to have the vision to set those ambitious goals, and the courage to simply go out there and make it happen.